Good morning. Good morning on this glorious Sunday morning. My name is Marjorie. I'm your Sunday associate. I'm a member of the worship arts team and the WEFT group, which is the Welcoming Engagement Fun team. So welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. We are a spiritually alive, justice-centered, inclusive community. We're so glad you're here with us in this sanctuary online. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. First, we are hosting our second ever Odyssey presentation at 1 p.m. A couple announcements. Sorry, I didn't say that's what I'm doing. Our second ever Odyssey presentation at 1 p.m. today, featuring Tom McGinnis, and we will view Tom's Odyssey video and have an opportunity to ask him questions because he'll be here. And you can participate here in this room or via Zoom. The link was sent out in the pastoral update letter and can also be found at www.muuf.org/virtual. Second, here is a snapshot of the week leading up to Christmas at this fellowship, and these events are also listed in the order of service. Friday, December 17th, the Folk Project, who meets in this sanctuary on Friday nights, is hosting Songs of the Season, a benefit concert for our fellowship. On Sunday, December 19th, a multi-generational fellowship community day. The schedule includes a 9:30 and 11:15 a.m. holiday-themed service based on Las Posadas. At 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., there will be an alternate gifts giving fair, smaller than the one that we've done in the past, but we're getting it started back up. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. will be festive gathering with walking the solstice spiral, enjoying cocoa by the fire. I believe that would be the fire in the fire pit. And we'll be singing and doing outdoor caroling. Then on December 24th, our Christmas candlelight services at 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. A couple of notes about our service today. Our senior minister, Reverend Alison Miller, has laryngitis. So David Sneddon and I will be working together to cover the spoken parts of the service, and Alison has sent us the sermon to read and her regards to all of you. Our offering today will be split 50-50 between our fellowship and the Nourish New Jersey, formerly Community Soup Kitchen. And now, let us begin our worship and a chalice lighting. As we light the chalice, our symbol of our faith, let us read together words by James Vila Blake in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. I'm David Sneddon. As Marjorie said, Alison is out with laryngitis. I told her that she can substitute for me when I'm sick next time. She didn't argue. Well, she didn't say anything. Last week, we lit the Advent candle for hope. This week, we add to it a candle of peace. Reverend Alison wrote the following for our second Advent candle. We kindle the light of understanding, not the glossing over of differences. We kindle the light of reconciliation, not the lack of accountability. We kindle the light of peace, not the absence of conflict.
And now we will light the menorah. This is the final evening of Hanukkah. And we will, as David lights the candles, I will do my best to read some Hebrew. So those of you who are more familiar with Hebrew, please pardon me. I'll do my best. So Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishianu b'mitzvotu yes, tadik ner shel Hanukkah. Thank you for help. That means, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your commandments, commanding us to kindle light, the Hanukkah lights. And Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim latienu v'tiamu bayanamim hahem baza hazeh, which translates, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who performed wondrous deeds for our ancestors in those ancient days of the season.
Good morning. There we go. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and remain masked and hum to your heart's delight. Number 298, Wake Now, My Senses. Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor our beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
This morning's story for all ages is entitled The Mystery of God by Mary Ann Moore. One time, when children were playing hide and seek with God, one of them found God hiding in the wind, and another found God hiding in some beautiful music, and several found God hiding in people who were building a house for people with no home. But when the game was over, they began to want something different. One of the children said, We find God in all these different places, but I don't want to see just a part of God. I want to see all of God all at once. The other children agreed. They called to God, saying, God, the next time you hide, we want to find all of you all at once. We want to see everything. Surprised to hear their request, God said to them, that isn't as easy as you might think. Let me think about it for a little while. So God thought, they don't know yet that even though they know some things about me, they can never know all about me all at once. Why, even I don't know all of me all at once. Sometimes I even surprise myself. How can I help them to understand this? And God thought and thought some more. After a while, God got an idea. Calling to the children, God said, all right, I will hide again, and this time when you find me, you will find all of me all at once, but be prepared for a surprise. The children jumped up and down. They were so excited. One said, I think God will be something like the sky at night with all kinds of shining lights. Another said, I think God will be like the earth with everything growing out of it. And the third child said, maybe God will be like a person you can talk to. But one child reminded them, don't forget, God said, be prepared for a surprise. So maybe God won't be like any of those things. Then God said, I'm ready to hide now. Close your eyes and count to 10. So the children did, and then they went to seek God, this time staying together. They looked and looked, but didn't find anything for quite a while, until finally they discovered a box all wrapped up like a present. They looked at each other and said, could this be God? Should we open it? And finally they agreed they should. Very carefully they took off the ribbon, and very carefully they removed the paper, and then very carefully they opened the box and peeked inside. What they saw did surprise them. It looked like lots and lots of puzzle pieces. And then they heard God say, put me together, and then you will see all of me all at once. So the children began to work, and everybody helped. One piece was a loving heart, and they started with that. Next to it fitted a piece that gave forth a peaceful, quiet feeling, and next to that fitted a family sharing with others. Once they got the first pieces going, it became easier, and they began to work faster. They found where a new growth of spring went and where a powerful thunderstorm went. And they did find a person and the sky and the earth. They were only parts. They worked and worked, putting in more and more of the pieces until they had put in a great number of the pieces. They looked to see what the pieces that they had left, and they were really surprised. The pieces that were left were empty. They fit in, but they weren't anything. Then they said to God, is this truly all of you all at once? And God said, yes. One child said, but there are some pieces that we still don't see you, where we still don't see you. That's true, said God. Those pieces are where my mystery is. Your mystery? You see, said God, there is much of me that you can see, but there's always a part of me that is a mystery. That is where my wonders and surprises come from. The children stood quietly for a few minutes, looking at the finished puzzle with the pieces where the mystery was, and they knew that they knew something wonderful. Then they said to God, okay, I guess we're ready to play hide and seek again, the old way. Will you hide for us? Off I go, said God, and they knew that they were going to be surprised once again. So now is the time in our service where we give and receive our weekly offering. We believe that generosity changes lives. It changes the lives of people in our community, and it changes our own lives in the giving. Our offering this morning will be split 50-50 between the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship and Nourish, New Jersey. You can donate cash, checks, online at www.muuf.org or via text to give number 73256 with keyword MUUF followed by the dollar amount. Thank you so much for your generosity. Every bit makes a huge difference.
This piece that you're going to hear for the offertory is from a musical called In the Beginning, which sort of pokes fun at some Old Testament stories. This is from a serious moment, so we're not going to poke any fun today. But it's at the beginning of the show, and there's a section that deals with all of the other people who lived in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. And Eve kind of messed it up for everybody, and so God kicked everybody out in this version. But this is one of those people singing about their confusion with, wrestling with God, isn't it? So you'll hear me refer to the garden at the beginning. The garden, it was everything to me. We had no fear, spring was the only season. The fruit hung heavy down from every tree. It would not be so strange to live within this change if somehow I could understand the reason. Is someone out there? Am I alone? Is someone else in the great unknown? Is there a force far beyond my view? Is someone out there? Could that be true? Is someone out there beyond the sky? Is there a home where these words can fly? Is there a heart that might understand? Is someone out there to take my hand? World forever changing every day now. Nothing ever seems to stay the same. Who'd be there if I should lose my way now? Does someone else know my name? Is someone out there? Show me a sign. Having a plan that could be divine. Have you a voice that will tell me so? Is someone out there? Is someone out there? I have to know. I have to know. I have to know.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knew, especially those of you online, that the youth are having children's chapel this morning at 10:30, and the junior and senior high are meeting on site right now. If you all would turn to antiphonal reading number 531, I know in the service it says 532, but 531, which is The Oversoul by Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson. And we're going to split it up where the left side over here will read the regular type, which I will be reading with you, and the right side will be reading with Marjorie the italicized. Let us learn the revelation of all nature and thought. that the highest dwells within us, that the sources of nature are in our own minds.
As there is no screen or ceiling between our hands and the heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul where we, the effect, cease and God, the beings.
I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will I call mine.
There is a deep power in which we exist, whose beatitude is accessible to us.
Every moment when the individual feels invaded by it is memorable.
It comes to the lowly and simple. It comes to whosoever will put off what is foreign and proud. It comes insight, and it comes as serenity and grandeur.
The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception.
Forever and ever, the influx of this better and more universal self is new and unsearchable.
Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one.
When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. This is the time in our service when we share deeply personal and important milestones that have happened during the week. We know that we are your community, and if you have a serious need or have suffered a personal tragedy, we want to help. And if you have a new member in your family or other personal joy, we are eager for the chance to celebrate with you. And this morning, I don't see any milestone or passage cards, so I'm thinking that there may be milestones and passages we're keeping quietly in our hearts. And we're happy that you feel comfortable to share those personal joys and concerns when you are ready. Let us respect all the needs that are in the room and in our community at large online with a moment or two of silent meditation. O Spirit of life, known by many names, yet by no name fully known, we gather here today with hopes and dreams and also with fears and wounds. May we be reminded that all things come and go, that today's joys and today's sorrows will in time give way to those of tomorrow, and those of us who have the strength to share today, let's do so while we can, and those who are in need, let's allow ourselves to receive, for tomorrow those roles might well be reversed.
Your wonderful music director put the wrong hymn in this spot in the order of service, and the one in your order of service, Be Ye Lamps Unto Yourselves, is for next week, so you can look forward to that. Instead, for now, here's number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open. soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Alison has bronchitis and laryngitis, so she asked Marjorie and I to share the service. She prepared. In this time of a pandemic, Alison wanted to be mindful about modeling staying home rather than spreading germs. By the way, she did take a test. She is negative for COVID, but the laryngitis means she can't speak anyways. Here's the sermon she wrote for today. In 1838, celebrated Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson addressed the graduating class of Harvard Divinity School. Let me admonish you, first of all, to go alone, to refuse the good models, even those which are sacred in the imagination of men, and dare to love God without mediator or veil. Emerson spoke simply, receiving doctrines from the past, and for the importance of trusting in our own intuition and our own experience of the divine. He addressed the future preachers before him and said, "Cast behind you all conformity and acquaint men at first hand with deity." And in that sermon, he did cast off conformity. He spoke against supernatural miracles and pointed out the divinity in humanity. If a man is at heart just, then insofar is he God. The safety of God, the immortality of God, the majesty of God do enter into that man with justice. While Emerson hoped that a thoughtful academic debate would follow, instead he was immediately attacked by the powers of the day in Unitarianism and Harvard, which was a school for Unitarian ministers at the time. Emerson was called a heretic and an atheist. He was not welcome back on the campus for decades. In 1838, the 35-year-old Emerson and his fellow transcendentalists were called radicals. Now, we look back at Emerson and are inspired by his openness to new sources of truth outside the confines of Christianity. But he was not always beloved by all in his own time. It is, of course, ironic that in 1903, on what would have been Emerson's 100th birthday, a marble plaque with the words, "Acquaint thyself firsthand with deity," was placed on the wall of the very room where he preached them, and that room is now called the Emerson Chapel. We owe a debt to all of our spiritual forebears who opened multiple doorways to truth and to God. We enjoy a Unitarian Universalism that allows for atheists, agnostics, and theists of all stripes to give voice to the uncensored stirrings in the souls as Emerson once did. Getting to this place has included an evolution and revolutions of the Spirit that moved congregations and the people in them from the orthodoxy of Puritanism in the 1600s to become the progressive Christian Unitarians of the 1800s and ultimately open-hearted, open-minded, religiously diverse Unitarian Universalists in the 1900s. We continue to evolve and change as a religion now in the 2000s. As the dean of St. Louis, a formerly Universalist seminary, once said when asked where we stand on matters of faith, "We don't stand, we move," was his response. We enjoy a religious freedom and pluralism within our communities that I hope you find liberating and to be an invitation to explore your own meaning-making, the ability to make sense of the world and our place in it, and the ability to articulate that is vital to the spiritual life and to resilience, especially in these troubled times and trial. What we believe about God is an important part of that spiritual work. And remember, God is also the three-letter word for what we hold as ultimate. The question of what do you believe about God is partly about the question, what guides your life? I know this kind of question can be challenging for many of us, so let me show you what I mean. My definition, Reverend Alison Miller, definition of God is the creative power of love that is able to enter the brokenness and suffering in our lives and our world and move with us toward healing. It is that which transforms despair into hope, injustice into liberation, and the forces of destruction and isolation into creation and interconnection. It is the spirit of love which is a part of all of us and yet greater than each. One of the guiding questions for me that is born out of this definition is, what is the pathway of healing, and how can I or we move in that direction? There's a story in the Bible of Jacob wrestling with an angel or a man who is actually God. They wrestle all night, and Jacob survives, but is left with a limp. When the angel man is about to leave, Jacob asks for a blessing. His blessing is a new name, Israel. There is much written about this name for Jacob and what it might mean, including he who wrestles with God, he who sees God, he who contends with God. In any event, what resonates with my direct experience is in that passage is that so often when we ask questions about God or what is ultimate, we are wrestling with an urgent need to make meaning, whether because of contending with despair or loss or illness or injustice. We usually don't come away unscathed by those times in our lives, but we often come away with insights that serve us to live more fully and deliberately. Whatever that blessing is that you receive during a time of wrestling might hint in the direction of what is ultimate for you. The quality or qualities that sustain and nourish you through hardship and challenge. Think of the headlines this week. How will the parents of the children who were shot in Michigan survive through their long nightmares just begun? How will they make meaning of what happened? What power inside of themselves and in others will bring them back to life? Where will they find God or hope or some framework to make sense of the senselessness? How will they find peace or justice? These are questions of theodicy. Rabbi Kushner famously put that question in this way: why do bad things happen to good people? This kind of question is especially challenging for people who believe that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere, omniscient, omnipotent and omnipresent. Why then would God choose these children and these parents to suffer? We UUs don't tend to hold on to that type of belief, but we may still hold beliefs that fall away for us in the time of travail. I remember serving as a chaplain in a burn ICU where a man was working underneath a car when it exploded. He miraculously survived, but as you can imagine, he was in the most precarious and painful condition. I would visit with his wife daily. She prayed without ceasing. Her pastor came frequently and prayed with her, and so did I. She told that she believed that God would answer her prayers if she prayed well enough. As he grew more and more gravely ill, I asked her, "Do you think God works that way?" I knew she found hope in being able to do something, and I do believe prayers can be powerful, but I was worried that if he passed away, she would blame herself. As he moved closer and closer to death, I listened to her struggle with her theology and did my best to create a safe place to ask her own questions and find her own answers. Our answers will not always be the same to questions about God or theodicy. I know some of you believe that all things happen for a reason, while others don't. I don't believe God chooses and sends good things for some and bad things for others as a matter of testing or strengthening or punishing or any other reason. However, I do believe that we human beings can move through those challenging experiences towards growth, towards insight, towards more abundant life. The greater the challenge or loss, the harder that may be. However, human beings learn, grow, and change through experience. Perhaps these creative impulses are a reflection of the divine spark in us. So, what do you believe about God? Is she immanent within you? Are they transcendent beyond you? Or is he both within and beyond? If you believe God is in every blade of grass and in everything, you could be called a pantheist. And that understanding of everything as sacred might inform your commitment to the environment. If you believe that God is a verb and not a noun, then you might find the divine to be revealed in actions of love and compassion. Many who resonate with this understanding identify with what is called process theology. If you believe that we can say more about what we don't know about God than what we do know about God, as is the case of the puzzle pieces that was in the Time for All Ages that remained a mystery, then you might be following the apophatic tradition. God is wordless, imageless, and filled with wonder. If you believe God is on the side of the poor and the oppressed, then you may resonate with liberation theology. The question then becomes, how do you live into the proposition with your life? Are you engaged in movements for social change? Or is it merely abstract thought and an academic exercise? In the end, what is important is that our beliefs help to nourish, sustain, and inspire us. Our beliefs matter as in they help us to lead lives grounded in love and act in ways that repair and heal brokenness in whatever ways our particular gifts suit us to do. If you don't believe in God, goddess, a higher power, then does what you have put in place of God, the God you've rejected or the God your parents rejected, hold you in a time like this? Can it hold your grief and the possibility of growth? Or do you feel you are without the tools to begin to find a way forward? I'll be quick to add that this meaning-making is not the work of one day. Rather, it is the journey of a lifetime. It is also one of the gifts we offer one another here in this fellowship, through classes like Building Your Own Theology, discussion groups, or weekly services and pastoral appointments. This is a place where the questions and the wrestling are welcome. Whether you believe God exists or is a metaphor or poetry, may our movement toward what is holy, just, and true transform our lives and our world for the better. May it be so. And now will you join us in number 23, Bring Many Names.
Bring many names, beautiful and good, celebrate in parable and story, holiness and glory, living, loving God. Hail and Hosanna, bring many names, strong Mother God, working night and day, planning all the wonders of creation, setting each equation, genius at play. Hail and Hosanna, strong Mother God, warm Father God, hugging every child, feeling all the strains of human living, caring and forgiving, till we're reconciled. Hail and Hosanna, warm Father God, old aching God, gray with endless care, calmly piercing evil's new disguises, glad of new surprises, wiser than despair. Hail and Hosanna, old aching God, great living God, never fully known, joyful darkness far beyond our seeing, closer yet than breathing, everlasting home. Hail and Hosanna, young growing God, great living God, never fully known, joyful darkness far beyond our seeing, closer yet than breathing, everlasting home. Hail and Hosanna, great living God.
For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. For all who seek a right path, may a way be found, and the courage to take it step by step. Blessed be.
We'll do